Hello. Sorry I'm late. Hey, good morning. I'm late. It was just one of those mornings. The computer wanted to update when I didn't have time. Hey, Christy Betts, how are you? So glad you found me. I was just saying to Donna that my computer decided it wanted to update. Always, yes. It was a little bit slow, and I really was just trying to make sure I was hooked into the internet since I'm not at my house. And next thing I know, it's updating. So that's the way it happens. So, how's everybody doing? Oh, your phone decided to update too? Yeah, it's always at the moment where you really don't have time. But if you don't, it's not going to work right. Everything's going to be slow and lagging. And I don't know why it won't do it while you're asleep. Try going on an hour or so earlier. I had thought about that, um, and I may end up having to go on at 11 to 12. Um, but I don't know, maybe it is the noon hour that's causing it. But anyway, I was really busy this morning and trying to get my garden watered and all the animals fed because I'm taking care of my son's animals because they're on vacation. And so I've got double animals to take care of. And it's hot out there and tiring. Y'all want to see what I got in my garden? Is that not pretty? It's like a softball. I got a couple of them. So guess what I'm having for lunch today? Yeah. Gonna slice me up a tomato. Oh yeah, Christy. Yeah, the homesteaders mornings are busy and the evenings are busy for me too because you've got to feed and water them in the morning. You got to go in the early afternoon to make sure their water's good because we're in 90 degrees right now. My glasses are hurting my nose. Um, and then you got to go around 6 o'clock and uh, throw them a little bit of something and lock them all up for the night. So, but around here it doesn't get dark until I don't know. It's almost 9 o'clock. So the chickens don't want to go to bed until then. I got to put this back on so I can see what you said. A little mayo on your tomatoes, yeah. Now we like Miracle Whip. I know some people don't like Miracle Whip because it's a salad dressing, but I like Miracle Whip and I like plain mayonnaise too. Um, and sometimes, and in the South, Duke's mayonnaise is really good. I like it better than Kraft. Um, but these things are huge. I can't even fit them in my hand. Um, and I've got another half dozen in the kitchen window. So yes, oh, you wouldn't believe how good they smell. And I had taken them off because you see those little splits. We had some really erratic weather where we had a lot of rain and then we didn't have hardly any rain. So these two got these little splits. So I took them off just to kind of make sure I could keep an eye on them and the birds didn't start pecking them or something. Oh, and speaking of something the birds have been doing, my wild plums came in. They started dropping a few days ago, and the dadgum little birds, there's a bunch of them I'm picking up off the ground. The birds, there's little peck marks all over them. So they're eating my wild plums, and they are so juicy this year. This tomato, I believe, is called a big beef slicer. So you can imagine that. That's almost the size of a piece of light bread. Is that what you call it, Christy? Light bread? That's the way. That's what we used to call it back in Oklahoma. Is my mother would see? She made bread. She made biscuits. She made loaf bread. But if we bought it from the store, it was called light bread. I don't know why. Probably because it didn't have much in it. So that is my tomatoes. Y'all want to see what it looks like inside? I have a plate and I have a knife. A big green one will fry up good, Donna says. Yes, I have some green ones too. I'm going to do a video for Boots and Bounty is doing a series about gathering from the garden and taking it to the kitchen and seeing what you make of it. But I'm going to cut this open. I want to show you guys how good. And I can say that because I ate one last night. Oh, it was so good. Oh, even the knife smells good. Now, look at that. Now, this is a tomato. Now, if we were little girls growing up in Oklahoma, Donna and I um, we used to swipe a salt shaker and we would just eat the tomatoes out of the garden with the salt shaker and just eat them up. Hey, gumdrop for Eva. Hi. Oh yeah, tomato sandwiches. So yeah, that's what I'm having for lunch is my tomato sandwich. But I was just so proud of these big old tomatoes because last year when they were green is when the cows got in and destroyed all my vines. I picked up five-gallon buckets of green tomatoes and they were all this size. Oh yeah, and Donna says we would do the cold biscuits. We would slice those up and put a slice of tomato in a cold biscuit. Now that's a lunch. Can't go wrong with that. So needless to say, I'm going to have tomato for lunch. Like I said, I could just eat a tomato. Um, I probably, if I was making a sandwich, I don't eat a lot of bread these days, but if I was making a sandwich, I would just put mayonnaise and bread, sometimes a slice of onion. Um, I have Vidalia onions that came in last couple of weeks. Um, we get them like the little organizations like the 4-H and different little organizations, they sell bags of onions as fundraisers. And so a 5-pound bag of onions is $5. And that helps them make some money. Oh my gosh, those onions, the Vidalia onions are really good. And they have to be grown in Vidalia, Georgia. There are Vidalia onions you can buy and plant yourself, but for some reason the ground is really different in Vidalia, Georgia, where they originally come from. So ours, that's where ours come from. That's about an hour and a half away from here. It's not too far. So so that's what I got out of the garden this week. I got a good size cucumber. There's several peppers. There's some banana peppers and there's some cowhorn peppers, which I understand are really, really hot. So I don't know how many of those I'll be eating. Um, yeah, Christy, the first tomatoes that you get, it's like, and I had a handful of sweet cherry tomatoes. That's what it said when I bought them. I got a couple of plants from the local feed store just because I like to uh, support my local feed store, and I have seeds and others also going. But the first ones who get it doesn't really matter what they are. They're just fresh tomatoes because every tomato that you get at Taco Bell or wherever they give you some tomatoes, they don't have any taste. So I just scoop those little thingies off. There's no way I'm going to eat a tomato that's white. I just can't do it. Can't do it. So, oh yeah, Christy, um, have y'all started getting the Vidalia onions up there where you're at? Um, I can hardly remember where everybody is located, but I'm in like mid central Georgia. Um, uh, Vidalia. Some people say Vidalia. In Georgia, they say Vidalia. So, I mean, that's just, it's a regional thing. Um, yeah, it's like eating a cardboard tomato. When you I was at a little it was a Mexican restaurant, and it was just a burrito, but it came with like pico de gallo. It didn't have any flavor. It did not have any flavor because it had those tomatoes in it. And I thought I'd just soon not have those kind of tomatoes. Um, So what else did I get out of the garden? Oh, my blackberries, they were pink a couple of days ago, so they're going to be I mean, they're good size. I've got some that's maybe a half inch long, and oh, they're really fat. So this is the first time we've had the blackberries this year. We have about 8 plants maybe, and we have 11 blueberries, and the blueberries are getting bigger, but they haven't turned yet. I guess I'm gonna have to get my bird netting and put over my berries. Since they got my wild plums, they're gonna be after my berries too. So, and we got into our beehive over the weekend. Oh my gosh, you would not believe the honey. One of the hives is not as healthy as the other hive. They don't have near as much honey. It doesn't even seem like there's that many bees in there. So I'm not sure if they're reproducing or not, but they're still working. So the queen must be there somewhere. I just haven't found her. But one of them, uh, we've already had to add an additional super uh, to the top because the brood box is the bottom one. If you haven't dealt with bees before, uh, and they do have honey in that one also, but there's where the babies and everything are at. Well, the second one, the honey is all the way from wall to wall. There's every one of those frames are full of honey. That box was so heavy. My husband actually said, "Can you help me lift this box? It's so heavy." I didn't want him to drop the box. So anyway, we had to add another super to that, and so that we could let them start building up because we don't want them to leave and find another place. So I think I'm going to have to replace the queen in one of my hives because it's just not near as healthy as it should be. So did I miss anybody coming in? Um, yeah, tomatoes. I'm sitting here smelling them. It's like I need to put it a little bit closer. Oh, what I do with the box of honey? It's still there. Um, I just added another box on top of it so they would go up and they would build honey stores in that also. It's a new hive, so I don't want to take the honey yet because I don't want them to starve. Uh, I mean, they should have plenty of flowers, but they need the honey right now. I probably won't harvest the honey until sometime in the winter and um, or in the spring. I meant it after winter, so it'll be early spring before I actually harvest it. And if if I get too many bees and honey in that one, then I'll split it so that they can share. I'll just get a new queen and we'll split it. So I'll still have plenty of honey. But let's see, what have I been doing this week? I learned a new craft. If you ask my sister, I always have a craft going. I have been wanting, for some of y'all that know me, we do have alpacas and we have some baby doll sheep. Christy said, I tried putting honey on a sore on my dog, and the other dog licked it off. Yeah, honey is good for it's an antibacterial. It's really good for everything. That's why I put it in my elderberry syrup. And just because honey is good. So hopefully we'll have some good honey by the first of next year. But anyway, the craft I really wanted um I really wanted to learn how to spin the alpaca roving. I took When I sheared the alpacas before, I had it made into roving, which is what you use to make yarn. I have 10 bags of it, believe me, and they each one of them weigh about 10 pounds. So I have a lot, and I really need to process it. And I just didn't want to sell it too cheaply because it's alpaca, and all the white can be dyed. The browns and the different shades of browns, um, you can't dye those. So these spinners are anywhere from $800 to $900 a piece. And I don't know about most of you. Probably you're like me, you don't have $900 just laying around gathering dust. There's always something to do. So I haven't really been able to get one. And I was watching hey Christy, oh, you wanted alpacas? Oh, they really are sweet, but they're not like the goats and the sheep. They're not really hands-on. They'll let you rub their necks a little bit, but they don't particularly like you to touch them, and so I have to touch them to get all the briars and the hay and stuff out of them, and I usually have to have somebody hold them so that I can do that. And I have to do that before we shear them, which will be this month. We'll shear them, and I hope to be able to bring y'all some entertaining video. Um, Probably it's our first year of shearing ourselves because the people that I had shear before, they finished up our area early. They didn't call and say we're going to be in the area. You want to do it early? They just said, "Oh, we're done. We're not coming back." And another one who lives fairly close to me, he said, "Oh, I'm not taking any new clients." So guess who gets to do their own shearing this year? Yeah, no, I got the new clippers, but we haven't used them yet. I think we're going to split up. We have 4 baby doll sheep, and we have the alpacas. So we're going to split them up, and we're going to do either the sheep first or the alpacas. I'm not sure which one. But yeah, that's we had to get the straps. Then they were late coming in, so you have to get the restraining straps because we lay our alpacas on a mat. um, it's a lot less stressful than having them stand up and them trying to kick you while you're trying to cut them. um, so uh, our straps just came in, and but you have to have those restraining straps for each of the feet. But yeah, so now we got all the equipment. um, Sometimes it's rough getting everything you need in the beginning, because some of this stuff, I think it still comes from China. I don't know. It took weeks to get everything that we needed. So this is what I made. This is the old fashioned way of spinning yarn. um Uh-oh, what did I do? Did I lose it? Did I lose you guys? Uh-oh, what happened? Ah, am I back? I'm not sure what happened. Well, it's not, I'm not showing anything. Says I'm live now. Am I still here now? I'm back. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure. I may have bumped that little mouse and I'm going to move him way out of my way. I'm not sure what happened. But anyway, am I back now? So I made my own spindle. This is polymer clay. Can y'all see? And I did put a video up on the Little Wendy's channel on how I made it. Oh, you could still hear and see me? Oh, I just, that is the weirdest thing because my screen was gone, totally gone. So anyway, this is my spindle, and I have been practicing making yarn. And see, this is some merino sheep's wool that I bought online for another project, and they're small pieces. They're they're kind of stiff, but they're not as soft as the alpaca. But that I already had that, so I've been practicing with that. But this is my alpaca, and I'll show you what I did. If y'all are interested in this, um, this is what the alpaca looks like after it's just washed. It's just long dreadlocks. This is Suri alpaca. And you can see it's not really long. Oh, you sold some spinning wheels? Yeah, I have sold some all kinds of stuff when I was dealing with the antiques. We used to travel all over the country looking for antiques, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't have alpacas then. I know how to crochet. I've never learned to knit. That's on my bucket list too. But this is from one of my alpacas, and you can see her fiber is actually pretty long. Let's see. There it is. It's this long because the I can pull and it won't pull apart anymore. So it's about 5 inches. That's pretty good. But this is just washed. That's all it is. It's just, and it's soft. Oh my gosh, this stuff is so soft. And so I really wanted to just work it myself instead of selling it off. After combing it, it looks like cotton basically. So if you've never been around it, now this one is shorter. This fiber is shorter. Um, it's about that short, but I combed it. I've had to make a lot of my own tools because um, it's so expensive. Now I do have an antique pair of what we called them paddles, but they were combs, and um, it's a whole pair. I've dated them probably back to the 40s, maybe, and they're this wide and maybe like this. So you put your fiber, just that big wad of fiber I had from the alpacas. You put it on there and you comb it so that it's all one direction. What'd you say, Donna? Are you going to dye some before or after you spin it? You can do either. You can dye the yarn after it's spun, or you can dye the fiber before you process it. Once you get it washed and you get all the vegetable matter picked out of it, it's usually a lot of little pieces of hay, sometimes stickers. Those little stickers that get in your socks, they get all over the sheep too, and the alpacas. So I didn't have any of those big combs because I haven't finished replacing. So I've used dog combs. And this is the sheep's fiber. You can see the difference in the sheep fiber. Let me see. This is my alpaca, and this is the sheep. And there is a difference in color, but this has been washed, and all the lanolin, which it makes it yellow, it has been washed out. Now I can bleach it also, and it'll make it whiter. And then after it's bleached, then I would put color in it, which I did last year. I colored, see, I colored this one. It looks kind of pink, um, but I colored some. This is orange, and see, I haven't combed it, so this is the sheep's fiber. But I did. I think I used Rit dye on this one, so I have a pink and I have an orange, and I made dryer balls. Is what I used this for. And this is the green. It looks kind of blue, but it's actually green. And there's an orange. So this is the sheep's wool. You can see how kind of coarse it is. Yes, I have some reddish brown fiber, Christy, and one day I'll get all my fiber out and show you guys. This is the coolest stuff. I did have an Appaloosa alpaca. She was one of my older ones, and we did lose her. But she had the most beautiful kind of a rust and fawn colors. So her alpaca fiber, I still have it, and it is in roving, and it's really pretty. And it's a gorgeous reddish brown. And I also had an alpaca that was another Appaloosa, and hers was a darker brown and the fawn color. Um, it wasn't pure white, but it really was a beautiful. So some of the older alpacas we have lost. Just um, we have a terrible problem down here in Georgia with the white-tailed deer, and it's just a constant battle to keep those ticks away from the alpacas. So that's what I did, is I combed this sheep's fiber, and it's real springy. Now if I want to do needle felting, I like to use this because it felts really good and quick. um, Christy says there was a lady used to have me save her dog fur to spin. Yeah, if your dog has long enough uh, silky fiber. Oh, like, can you imagine the Springer Spaniels and how pretty their fiber is? Um, you can usually you mix it with something, but there is companies that sell fiber that's made from dogs. There's fiber that's made from, um, I'm trying to think of something unusual. There's fiber made from bamboo, and it's really soft and silky. But the dog fiber. I had one goat. I have a couple that have kind of a fleecy coat, winter coat, and I don't have it with me, but I have a gallon bag full of this really pretty fleecy fiber, and I haven't washed it yet. I just kept putting it in this bag, but I will wash it, and I can spin it in with something else. Probably the merino. This is merino wool, and it's been dyed already. Um, this, after I took all of those locks that I showed you earlier. I took all of those and I combed them. First, I combed them on these, and there's one that's different size. Somehow my husband got a hold of, and he mixed them, and I lost one of my big paddles. Um, I combed them, tried to get all the vegetable matter out, and then I put them on. This is called a blending board, and I made this myself too, because you can buy them, but they were over $100. And I bought the little needle. You see those little needles? I bought that little rubber needle pad, and that's what I need to do for my big paddles, but they don't have the size I need, so I have to cut it. Yes, I do wash the fiber. So when I put it on here, this is what I made when I put it on there. I just took and um, I just kind of, you can't see what I'm doing. I just kind of put it all on there in one direction and kind of combed it on there. And when I took it off, I actually rolled it up like this. So when you get this whole board filled, this is what I got. Now I can from here I make the yarn. From that one is ready to make the yarn. But I just take this fiber and I blend it on this board, and I want to get it in the same direction. And when I roll it off, it'll look like those are called rollags. And I roll those off, and then um, you can actually make your yarn from those rollags. And I have and they stick. And these things, they're just like those wire dog brushes. They'll poke you, and it hurts. But now I got it in my mouth. Um, yes, when I took this sheep's fiber, all of this fiber here came from the parents of my sheep. So this is baby doll sheep's fiber. I don't have any of the dirty stuff to show you how dirty it is. It is nasty. I wash it in um, cold water first. Try to get as much of it out. Yeah, it is a lot of work. And it's a process that, you know, back when, I mean, shearing and using the fiber to make clothes has been around for hundreds of years, hundreds of years. Now I can take this and I can just tap it, and there's sand. I mean, even after I washed it and combed it, there's still they roll in that stuff, and oh my gosh. So it can be very, very dirty. But so yes, I have to wash, especially the sheep's fiber. Um, I do wash the alpaca too, but you have to wash it in a way. You can use hot water, and I use Dawn soap. There are some other soaps online that you can use just for fiber, but a lot of people just use the Dawn because it's a degreaser, and sheep's fiber has lanolin in it, and that's where the yellow comes from. And it sometimes you find little balls of it, just looks like lard almost, but the lanolin um, is what keeps their skin healthy, and it makes them waterproof. So they don't care. They get out in the rain, they dry really quickly, but rarely you'll see them wet all the way down to the skin. It's usually just on the top. But yeah, I wash it. Um, when you wash it in hot water, you have to make sure that you put all your water. I do it in the bathtub, although I don't drain it in the bathtub. I throw it out bucket by bucket. Um, you wash it, you have to press it down really slow, because what causes sheep fiber to felt is if you're moving it too much. So the friction and the hot water and the soap will cause it to be felted, and we don't want it felted. We just want it clean. So and the sheep's fiber, this yellow, I had to put it in one of those big canning pots on the stove, and I heated the water up pretty hot, and then I dunked all of my fiber in with the soap, and I left it for about an hour, and then I pull it all out slowly, because if you do it too fast, hey molester, how are you? Oh, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Um, let's see. Christy says one of the vets I worked with used Dawn on wildlife. Oh, yeah, with the Exxon Mobil spill, yeah, that's exactly right. So it does take the lanolin out of the sheep. So you can get it hot, but you gotta be real careful because you could felt it, and, I mean, I can squeeze it, but it won't felt until I add hot water and soap. Then it'll felt it. I really wanna crochet a basket to put my yarn in. I want a big basket. But you have to use 100% wool or alpaca, something that will felt. And after you crochet it or knit it, then you wash it in hot water and it felts it stiff. So, but yeah, it's really an interesting process. You can ask my sister. I'll try anything once, but I really love this, and so I've really learned. Um, I wanted to get rid of something. One of these days, y'all, I'm gonna have to add a moderator, but anyway, so I made and I have been making yarn. This is alpaca, and if you can see, it's got a little halo on it. Yeah, this is kind of a chunky yarn. I'm not as good as some of those yarn makers um, that can really make them thin, really thin. Hey, Skinner Farms, how are you? And Heather, how are you doing? It's nice to see you come in. We're just chatting about, oh, everything on my computer wants to pop up and block my face. Um, we were just talking about processing um, sheep's fiber and alpaca fiber, and the I'll show you the spinners that I made. These are polymer clay. I designed them. They started out white. I designed them, um, made them. This one's a little bit more colorful. Um, But this is alpaca. This is what it's like when I put it on to make the yarn. And as you can see, this is like a little top. So when I get hit this on here, then I give it a spin and it puts the spin in the yarn. And then I'll move up a little bit and that spin, I'll have to park it. And then that spin goes on up into the next section. And I'll show it to you if y'all want to see it. Um, just hit the three dots next to the name and you can make a mod. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, because there's there's one person in here that's soliciting or something. Um, it's the first time in all my lives that I had to deal with that. Um, who wants to be a mod for me? Christy or Josh? Y'all tell me. Okay, so this is the yarn that I made from, remember I showed you early on, I showed you this merino wool that I bought online. That is what I used here. And I put some different colors on it. I just kept changing colors. Oh, I got my first troll. Yeah, Heather. I know. I usually just ignore them. But this is how I made these spindles. And I've been practicing. Josh, you make the mods. Don't ask people. We'll do it just to troll. Oh, really? Okay. Um. Anyway, I wrap it around this little cup hook a couple of times, and then I give it a good little spin. It's kind of like playing with the top, and then I park it, and then you try not to let the spin go up into your fiber here, like I just did, because I need to pull it out a little bit. And when I pulled it out, I made it thinner here, you can see. And I let go this twist goes up to my finger. And so then I twist my little top again, and you try not to let it get, so then I pull it again, and I just pull it out, and when I let it go, you can see it tightens up. So that it takes a long time to make yarn. So so that's what I've been doing, and I'll pull it again, and you can see it gets tighter up near my fingers. So that's what I've been doing with the oh, okay, trolls will say yes, not you. Okay, that makes sense. Um, it's kind of like chewing gum and doing two or three different things at one time. I don't always do it well. Um, so I go and on the three dots and add moderator. That's it. Okay, good deal, Josh. Thank you. Yes, Donna, it's a really pretty color. Now, I took some of that merino wool that I got offline. I didn't process that. And I took some of my alpaca and I made some blue. I mixed it together. And you see, it made a really pretty yarn. Oh, thanks, Heather. Yes, I knew you were a mod on some of the lives I've seen. Um, and anyway, this is the pretty yarn. Can y'all see it? This is the pretty yarn I made from this big wad of, just looks like a big fat worm. Um, but once I wind it on here and I give it, and I always go clockwise and do my little spin. And you can park it between your knees or under your arm. But the idea is to draft it out to where it's thinner. And once I let go, it'll make it'll make yarn. So, um, Christy, my favorite fiber fiber can't even talk to work with is, I really just have only worked with the merino and the alpaca. This is the only one that I've ever worked for. Oh, and the baby doll sheep. Those are the ones. The baby doll sheep is really short, probably about 3 inches. So it's a lot shorter, um, and it works better for felting than it does. And I'll be able to do yarn too, but I may have to mix it with. I could mix it with alpaca. But alpaca is, if you've noticed, it leaves a halo. See how pretty the halo is? And it's so soft. This is the silkiest fiber that I've ever seen. And I have 10 bags of it. I have it. I've already paid for it to be put into roving, and it's been processed up to that point. So I'm going to make yarn, and for the white, I can dye. Once I make the yarn, then I can dye different colors. Um, if somebody wanted me to dye a color before I shipped it, then I could do that. Um, but alpaca is very expensive. If you even raw alpaca, um, when I got this, it was 5 ounces. It was $13.75 for 5.5 ounces, 100% Suri alpaca, and those are just dreadlocks. So there's a lot of processing even from this point. So that's just raw. Can you imagine what the 100% yarn would be like? I haven't priced it. Josh says, "How about hair sheep?" You know what? Um, I have one and would love to have an alpaca, but they're getting expensive anymore. Yeah, alpacas are very expensive. We rescued these, so we don't have we didn't pay that much for each one of them. We bought the herd as a whole. Um, but now I had purchased a hair sheet for one of my families that bought some rescue animals from me. They were looking for a hair sheet for a um let's see, Heather. I was gonna do this, Heather, before I forget. Um this hair sheet, it was really small, short hair. So I don't know how that would if you could even um you'd have to mix it with something, blend it with something. So but now some of these sheep, the Corriedales, and I mean, there's some of them that their fibers like this long and curly and kinky, and it's really beautiful fiber. Um, but those sheep are generally raised in the cold regions because their fiber is so long when they shear them. Some of them have to be sheared twice a year. That's how fast their fiber grows. And I guess on a sheep they call it fleece. On a alpaca they call it fiber. I don't know why. I just learned that. But yeah, just and you can't buy just one alpaca. You really need two or three in your herd because they do get lonesome. Um, so it's hard to have just one. Now you can have one llama, but their fiber is not as soft and silky as the uh, the alpacas. There's a Suri alpaca and a Wakia alpaca, and it's spelled really unusual. It looks like high Kia, but it's considered Wakia. Christy says, I thought about alpacas as farm guards, but someone said donkeys were a little more tolerant to dogs. Well, you know what? That darn donkey that we have, he bites the butts on all of the cows. He is an ornery little turd. And he's always been alone. He was kept near goats, but he never had goats with him. But he chases them down, so I couldn't put him as a guard. Now, if he was a baby and he was raised with the goats and the sheep and the alpacas, it might be different. But you can't take an adult and put him in and expect him to not feel threatened, you know. So you're welcome. Thank you, Heather. It's hard to watch the chat and talk and do stuff. So, Josh says he has a female donkey that's 22 years old. Is that that's 22 OW? Um, yeah, the donkey we got, I think he's only 7 or 8 years old, but he just about took my husband down the other day. And he was trying to give him some feed separate from the cows because the cows kind of push him around. And he almost took him down. He kept trying to bite him. And I was trying to call him to the fence for the food so he would leave my husband alone. And I told him, I said, don't you get out there with him again, because if he pushes you down, then he's going to bite you and stomp on you because you, he wanted food, and you don't get between food and an animal. No matter how nice they are, they get aggressive. So, but I don't know. We'll see how long the donkey gets to stay. But after he did that to my husband, then he chased down one of the younger little bulls, and he kept biting him and biting him and biting him. And we had to take the water hose and spray on him to make him quit. Because I don't get in with him because I don't want him to knock me down, you know. So, but that's a few of the ways that I'm processing my fiber. And so it's soft. Can you imagine really with a blanket made out of, see how soft and silky that looks? Can you imagine having a blanket made out of that? And there's something about alpaca fiber that y'all may not know. It's hypoallergenic. Very rarely is anyone allergic to alpaca fiber. It is self-wicking, which means that if you have a pair of socks made out of it, if your feet sweat, it will draw the moisture away from your body. Um, and like what are those people that that hike up and down the mountains and stuff, a lot of them wear alpaca socks because of that, because it helps pull moisture away from the body. So it's actually very good quality, and rarely even sheep's wool. Now I always grew up thinking I must be allergic to wool because it makes me itch so bad. But after I started processing my own, I realized the stuff that I itch is probably the process that they put the fiber through. The chemicals is probably what makes people itch with wool, because I've made scarves with wool and they don't itch like the um the commercial. When I was growing up, it was a big thing to have a pea coat. Anybody know about the pea coat? And it was something, I think the guys in the Navy, the gals and the guys in the Navy wore pea coats, and I don't know where that word came from or that initial came from and what it really means, but they were made out of wool. And oh my gosh, they were so scratchy and itchy. So I think it's just the process of commercial wools, because they do use chemicals to process them or to dry them. Um, you know, they spray those chemicals on them. Let's see. Where am I at in the chat? Who did I miss? Um, yo, you're a ex-Navy wife. Okay, so you know all about the pea coats. And we thought it was a big deal to have a pea coat because they were so warm. And but in our teen years, we grew up in California, so they don't have really harsh winters there. But if anybody had a pea coat, I mean, we thought they were rich because those things were expensive. And one time we went to New York and we went into, what's the name of that? Saks Fifth Avenue. Couldn't believe how much a pea coat cost, thousands of dollars for those wool overcoats. Oh my gosh. I couldn't afford to wear one if I had to pay that. So, yeah, they were real warm, Christy. They were. Um, what are you talking about? Oh, you can also use a pinch, a growl, or lemon juice to get their attention. Are you talking about the donkeys? Um, help the donkeys from biting. Okay, I missed part of the chat. Okay, that makes sense. I'm trying to think of where I missed. Yeah, as time goes on and we get older, there's a lot of things that we really don't need. The kids are always asking, "What can I get you? What do I need?" Um, I said, "I really don't need anything. I can get along with what I have, but sometimes it's nice to have something. I always tell them to get me coffee, and my sister always sends me cinnamon. Oh my gosh. And vanilla is probably the other thing that I really would love to have, fresh vanilla. I'm out of fresh vanilla. We went to, I don't on a cruise somewhere one time, and we got a half-gallon jug of pure vanilla. I think that thing lasted me 10 years, and I finally used it up, and it didn't go bad. But um, oh yeah, Donna's an ex-Navy wife too. Her husband, he was in the Navy, and they've been participating. You have to remind me now, Donna, what is it that y'all are participating in to honor the veterans? Um, and is it only Navy? That she belongs to a group. Her and her husband do. Um, to honor the Navy veterans. He's been to Washington D.C. even in a special trip because of it. Where am I at? Honor flights. See, you got to remind me about that stuff. Honor flights. Well, tell them a little bit for all veterans. Okay, it just seems like there was a lot of Navy in the group that y'all are in. Um, but they have talked about honor flights all over the country. But her husband was chosen to go to Washington D.C. Um, for a special honor presentation. Oh, you still have your pea coat? It only cost me 4 years of my life to get it. Yeah, just 4 years. But it'll last forever, forever. But those were great. Those were great. Um, oh, and Donna says her husband Steve, his son is also retired Navy. So they have a family of and they, I don't know, they did a lot of technical support stuff, and it may have been secret. I don't know. Hey, Chella's World number one. I'm so sorry you lost your dog. It's tough to lose animals and pets. Really tough. Mm. We have we have a lot of animals, and it just seems like some of them they're picking on each other, they're stomping on each other. The roosters are trying to kill the other roosters. It's just it seems like it's a battle, and then sometimes you don't really know what happened. It just happened, and so it's difficult. Yes, Heather, that's my sister Donna. She is like my number one supporter in everything we do. Um, even though she's 2,000 miles away. So y'all like my picture in the back? It's not mine. I'm in one of my children's houses, and that's his wife's picture. That's pretty cool though, isn't it? It's on canvas. It's painted on canvas, but I thought it was kind of cute. It's a better background than mine. Better. So June, what is in store for everybody for June? Um, are you going anywhere? Now the gas prices are, I think, is pretty high for Georgia. But California is pretty high, from what I understand. Uh, and Donna can tell you they have a diesel truck, and they pull a camper, so they go camping a lot. And so they have paid the recent prices of diesel gasoline in California. So a lot of firewood to stack. What state are you in, Heather? If you don't mind me asking. Um, I think, let's see. Oh, Donna's going to the coast of California to Morro Bay for 2 weeks. Okay, Morro Bay, is that up from Bakersfield or down? Northern Michigan. Okay, you're in a cold zone. I'm in planting zone 8A. Um, so we're pretty far south. Pretty far south. So yeah, you do need a lot of firewood up there. And Donna says in Los Angeles they paid $8.95 a gallon just this last weekend. That is outrageous. And Heather says we're in planting zone burr. So you're not even on the scale. You have such a short uh, planting window. I don't know how you would plant anything at all. Uh, Shells World, keeping up with my husband's magic show gigs and poker dealing gigs, and going to the cowboy church. Really? Magic shows. That's pretty cool. Yeah, one of our brothers lives in Wichita Falls, and uh, they go to cowboy church, and he has for many years out there. And he's, as a matter of fact, he's gone to many different church and been a deacon in churches, but he really loves the cowboy church. He does. So, but so I guess, guys, lunch is probably over for everyone. I'm glad you all came in and we got to chat a little bit. I know it wasn't gardening. And for those who missed, let me see. For those who missed my tomatoes that I got out of my garden, I got to show them off. This is how big my tomatoes were. Oh, so good. This is what I'm having for lunch as soon as I get off of here. Um, Shell said her pastor is a brain cancer survivor. And Heather, you're right on the zone of 4 and 5. Wow, wow. That is that is that's a very short window. So we can plant, well, even some winter, right on up into some of the brassicas you can plant in November even and still be getting fruit uh, and veggies. So so I guess we're really lucky. We can't do the tropical like my friend down in Florida. Now, she's got some tropical. Yeah, you know her, Christy. Um, and but definitely oh, Shell's in Dallas, Texas. That's a good little town. We've got a lot of family in Texas. Definitely. Oh, Heather, 5 to 6. Okay. Well, that's a little better. So at least your window is not quite as short as some of those people way up in the Wyoming. One of the ladies that I watch, the Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona, they had snow last week and down in the 30s. So I guess we're lucky we have what we have, right? For sure. So um, I guess one other thing, um, our oldest brother is having heart surgery on the 6th. So y'all please keep him in mind with your prayers. Um, he has very delicate heart surgery that they need to do. There's no option. They have to do it. So he's going to be in um, Phoenix, I believe is where they're going to do it. So it'll be several months of recuperation, but he he's ready to get it over with and do his recoup. But they've already gone down to Phoenix to get ready um, for him to go in the day before. Thank you, Christy. I know y'all have been praying for him already. But Jack is our oldest half brother. He's 10 years older than me. So he's still quite young. He has had heart surgery before about 15 years ago. He had a triple bypass, but this is the other one that they didn't do, which happens to be at the back of the heart, which is a little more trickier than the triple bypass. So I appreciate that if you'll keep him in your prayers. Um, so I appreciate my new mods and my friends, my new friends, and my friends I've had before, my sister. So I guess we will see you next week, and hopefully I have something more interesting to talk about. I know that was probably more than you wanted to know about sheep's fiber and alpaca fiber, but maybe I'll have um, some updates on how my yarn is doing. If I can make some thinner yarn and make something out of it. But right now I'm in a learning mode. So appreciate it, and we will see you all on the next one. Bye for now. Have a good week. Yeah, Donna, he'll heal. Set out on the Colorado River and enjoy his time. He lives right on the river, um, in Arizona. So that's what he's planning on doing, is just relaxing and healing, and in a couple of months maybe I'll get an opportunity to go out and see him. So, but take care, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye now.